In today's video, we're finally going to find out what was behind that door in the Pitfalls video. Hello there, internet dwellers. Welcome back once again to another video. Today, we are watching more Kane Pixels Backrooms videos. Now, there was a video before the People Still Live Here series was created, and I didn't check that out. And the latest video from Kane is a Backrooms video called Backroom Static Dead End. So today is going to be a pretty short, pretty chill video, just checking these two videos out because the story is now continuing in this Backrooms series. And I believe the film that's being made is just going to be a continuation of this series. It's not necessarily going to be the end of the Backrooms. It's going to be like a one long episode. At least that's what Kane said during an interview. And then after that, he's hoping to finish it off with like a limited series, maybe on Netflix, which would be pretty freaking cool to see. He's just adding onto the story here, or at least the story that he's building on YouTube is going to flow nicely into what the movie story is about. They all link together, obviously, but people assumed that maybe the story that is being told here can't be told anymore because a movie's being made. As long as Kane isn't directly copying what's happening in the movie or ideas in the movie, and he's just building onto it from this kind of prequel perspective, then all is well. But I guess going into the Backrooms movie, there's probably going to be some kind of context for people that maybe haven't watched the series on YouTube. So it's going to make sense as its own standalone thing. So I guess the movie will have what feels like an ending, but will most likely continue on. Anyway, I'm yapping on. I'm sorry. On a side note, guys, I have actually been learning Houdini, which is a VFX software, in my spare time. And I was inspired by Kane to try out maybe learning a VFX software. I believe he uses Blender, which is a similar kind of program, but Houdini's like simulations and stuff like that. And so I guess I have a newfound appreciation for these videos because I know how hard it is just to do the simplest things in these softwares. We're going to start off with lighting and tile survey. Then we're going to move on to static dead end. There's only 2 videos today, guys, but yeah, be sure to go subscribe to Kane. That link will be in the description down below, and the videos as well. So go check out the videos. And without further ado, guys, we're just going to jump straight into this. So this one, from what I've gathered, is like a very intricate kind of analysis video on the lighting in the back rooms, which when you think about the back room stuff, I guess this is what I like about Kane stuff. He just goes in for the realism. He likes adding, like, showing off the realism of the back rooms. Whereas everyone else, you know, I mean, it's still cool content, don't get me wrong. They like to focus on the levels and what's inside the levels, the entities and stuff like that. But this is more looking at the science behind the back rooms. I think a lot of you will be interested in. I haven't seen it myself, but yeah, let's just jump into this. So this is Backrooms Lighting and Tile Survey, 14th of November 1989. Enough yapping, let's get into this. Here we go. Alright, let me tell you something there, Bobby. Mm-hmm.
It is incredibly cold.
What's cool about
Hopefully by the time you're watching this, I actually have a decent heating system down here. That'd be nice.
it feels so realistic. That's what I like about it. And so, like, the people we see here, when you think of like government agencies and stuff, these guys aren't a government agency. I think a government just kind of came in and was like, oh, you know, we need to kind of regulate a few things. I think that's what happened. But these guys are just a normal kind of company. They're not like grunts.
The green one reads.
This is so cool, man. It's good to be back in the back rooms. I recognize this from the Gmod map. I remember playing this on the Gmod map. Well, this is different, actually. This is new. The soundtrack as well is so good. I think that it's all done by Kane as well, the sound. Honestly, I don't know how he retains all this information of, like, things. Here we go. So, they're taking out a ceiling tile. It will be interesting to see how he breaks down this. Because the lights are always on, right? So it's very realistic in the sense.
There's no insulation on top, and I'm seeing a Bulbs on the floor, bulbs.
Bunch on the
There's
floor.
ventilation as well. You see that? You see the vents?
Yeah, it goes around the back to the right.
Some of it's insulated.
Why is there ventilation on the top, but not on like...
I don't know. I'm not.
Well, I don't know how it works actually.
Oh, it looks. No rust. I think.
There were electricians in the comment section, or people who work with stuff like this on a daily basis, saying that this is a very realistic version of what is actually happening with ceiling tiles and stuff.
More than one floor, and I use that term loosely. We then attempted to cut power to the nearest fluorescent light fixture, a standard troffer. However, we were unable to isolate the power source, and the conduit remained live, despite the absence of any visible external power supply.
Wow, okay. So
The
it's just
source
on?
of electrical current remains unknown at this time. Using an insulated toolkit, we carefully isolated the light fixture from its electrical conduit, extracted the troffer from the ceiling, and transported it back inside, back to standard for analysis. And a 0.5 meter sample of conduit was also taken, with all exposed wiring.
The crazy
safely.
thing is that Kane would have had to do research on real light fixtures and like maybe get like an expert opinion on certain light fixtures on what would be realistic and what wouldn't be realistic. This isn't just guesswork right now. This is genuine like deep research, and that's what I can appreciate about Kane's work is the deep research that goes into the things, like even the minute things, just to really add to that like realism. It's the same with when he uses cameras with lens flares, how the light affects the camera lens and the exposure and stuff like that. Like everything that he does has a lot of thought behind it, even if to us it doesn't feel like it at all.
Secured.
And that's what I can respect about Kane as a VFX artist and a
1.27
director.
meters by 1.14 meters, which is certainly not standard.
No, what's standard?
But it's composed primarily of mineral fiber. It seems normal in composition. Has a fissured texture with mild tegular
He's even going into the freaking material of this thing.
edges. So just after initial analysis, the composition of the tile estimated is around 60% mineral wool, which is fibers of amorphous silicate,
Oh my goodness.
usually derived from, I think it's basalt or slag.
Slag?
Around 20% expanded perlite, which is primarily of silicon dioxide and aluminium oxide.
I can't
and the
believe-
rest is a undefined mixture of silicate material, some starch, latex polymers, and
This is just big words going right over my head.
organic fibers derived from plant materials. Recycled cellulose, really. But
Plant
the
material.
light troffer housing is made of galvanized steel coated with a thin
Galvanized
layer of zinc.
steel.
Inside, the fluorescent bulbs are non-standard in proportion, most closely resembling T12 bulbs.
T12
So
bulbs.
the four bulbs measure 1.2 meters in length with a diameter of 38.1 millimeters. We're extrapolating here at 51, but that bulb and we assume the rest contain the following components.
Interesting.
Phosphor coating, the calcium halophosphate for converting ultraviolet light to visible light. Mercury vapor in a small quantity, which facilitates the ultraviolet light emission. Argon gas, and again, this is all standard for these fluorescent bulbs. That's an inert gas that assists with regulating the current and really starting the bulbs. And they are connected via a G13 base, which
This is insane. Like the amount, like for me to learn this, it would have taken me at least a year alone just to learn what the context of this video. Not even that, like probably longer than that actually.
is a standard
Like to actually understand
two-pin base
it.
with 13 millimeter spacing for electrical connection. So the wiring connected to the fixture is PVC insulated copper, which appears standard again. The prismatic diffuser over the bulbs is made of polymethyl methacrylate, which is again commonly used for its light diffusion properties. I mean, it's what we have in the building here, very standard. But we also inspected the ballast, which is of the electromagnetic type. There's there's some variation in how these are being manufactured now. This one contains a laminated steel core and copper windings designed to operate at 60 hertz. So the ballast emits a prominent 120 hertz hum. This seems to be the case for the majority, if not all, of the lights in the complex that we've assessed thus far, mostly just through simple curing. But this is due to magnetostriction and core vibration. But the noise may be exacerbated by loose lamination plates or degradation of the insulating potting material over time.
Okay, I'm
so
tending to know what that means. So they're saying that the hum that we hear, the hum of the lights, is due to potential decay of the light or like misplaced like fixtures inside.
Despite its age, the ballast is functional. Its large proportions suggest it was built for a non-standard space, not something you'd find in the majority of offices or most commercial spaces, though that's not something I'm too familiar with.
Okay, so where would you find these?
Now, we did find, so material compositions all seem expected, or we don't know what to expect here.
Okay, here we go. Some things to observe. Does the space seem to have a lot of lights on and few people? Are many workstations unoccupied? If so, make a note of it and consider whether the space needs better types of occupancy controls. Does the space seem to have abundant daylight? Turn the lights off and take some illuminance measurements. How much daylight is there? If plenty, make a note of it and consider whether the space needs better daylight controls or can make better use of the daylighting. Example, task ambient lighting, where the daylight provides the ambient light. Is the lighting system efficient? Could efficiency be improved by installing higher efficiency lamps? Ballasts, I think that's what that is. Luminaries. Are fixtures clean? Are surface reflections high? Is there too much or too little light? Was adequate time given for the lights to stabilize after they were turned on? This may take as long as 20 minutes. Is the lighting arranged properly with respect to workstations, or is it too much light in the body? Okay, so is this talking about like how you would fit lighting into an office or a commercial area? I'm guessing this is an office because it's talking about like cubicles and stuff like that. I guess that a lot of work goes into that. Like, is there going to be people here? Is there natural daylight? How much daylight is there? Like, is there enough daylight for us to only use this amount of lightings? I guess this just shows how much work actually goes into like building offices and commercial spaces.
This is rudimentary early testing, but everything seems pretty congruent with what you might expect from one of the troffer lights you could pull out of the ceiling in this building right here. So nothing too strange, but that maybe makes things even stranger. Because we look at these lights and let me see. So several labels were marked on various components of the troffer. So on the ballast, we found markings for marked it as a universal ballast, Type A, manufactured in 1975.
Oh wow!
Serial number A75234.
Damn, they've got serial numbers, so that means that they can now, like, geologically or geographically locate where these were made.
The troffer
and how they ended up here
itself is stamped 3X432, and that was manufactured in 1973 in Reading, Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania.
And it is UL listed. And the bulbs were manufactured by Sylvania, and they're marked F40SW. That's soft white.
Soft
with no
white.
Visible date information. It's
right.
blank, but it is noted as made in the USA.
Made in the USA.
So, I mean, though outdated in design, the fixture appears fully functional. The stable operation of all light fixtures in the subdivision points to a continuous, potentially autonomous power source, which still remains unidentified. We're doing what we can.
They're trying to find the power source.
The materials used are durable with minimal visible wear, suggesting they were built for long-term, possibly indefinite use.
Indefinite use.
So this concludes the initial findings, further investigation is necessary to determine the source of power sustainment.
Pencil. Okay, so that must be important, like, because it zoomed into the like where it was created, which is Pennsylvania, and the year 1973. It doesn't really make sense because, like, was the Backrooms always there, and this async company or whatever just happened to like open it up? That obviously, I don't know what they were doing. What were they actually doing in the first place? Did they know of this existence of maybe another not a dimension? I don't know, what is it? Is it a dimension? Is it another dimension? Is it a place that they opened a portal to? Has it always been there, or did they create it when they did this thing? So many different questions, but the fact that this was in 1973, like the light was in 1973 in Pennsylvania, goes to show that it's at least taking from something. What happened in 1973 that might have significant importance to the Backrooms? Maybe we can do a little bit of research into that, like big events that happened in 1973, because I know they blamed the San Andreas fault, or whatever it was called, the earthquakes there. Well, they said it was earthquakes, the San Andreas fault, but it turned out it was this Backrooms, like them turning this thing on and opening a portal or a doorway to the Backrooms that caused that. So maybe in 1970 something also happened. Right, I'm unsure when the earthquake was, but I'm assuming it was 1989 when the earthquake was, and that earthquake was the opening of the Backrooms, right? That's what they're getting at, but I can't find that video. I don't know if that's been retconned now. Maybe it has been, but yeah, that date is very interesting, 1973. So we'll have to keep an eye out for that one for sure. Let's move on to the next video now, which is called Static Dead End, and this is the latest addition to the Backrooms series, and this is the 29th of May 1990.
No, I don't like this, and you shouldn't either. What are you trying to get out of this, Marvin? We're on the same side, for God's sake. I don't disagree that things were handled poorly, but please, can you try to have a little perspective here?
Handled poorly. They killed him, George. He was alive.
Okay, yeah, so if you guys remember, just a little bit of a recap from what I can remember. A dude was meant to be doing some kind of procedure. He was with his team. He heard a noise in the back rooms. He went to go check that noise out, and there was a flash. Like, everything turned off. I think that was the only time probably that the lights all turned off like that. It turned out he traveled about 3 or 4 months into the future, and I believe he went a little bit crazy. He tried escaping or whatever. And I think maybe he even got, was it him that got the shotgun and like held people up or something like that? Oh no, what happened was he was probably like held prisoner, but he escaped the prison, I think, went back into the back rooms with a shotgun and kind of held someone hostage, I believe. Then he ran out, and I think they killed him. I think they genuinely, like, I don't know who it was that killed him, if it was async or like a government agency or something like that. They killed this guy.
Alive and well, and you can't tell me for a second that the United States Department of Energy didn't have the resources
United
to
States
fix things.
Department of Energy.
Are you kidding me?
Neither you nor I know exactly what happened, and frankly, it shouldn't be something that concerns us. Look, I know you appreciate how lucky we are to be a part of this project. It's not worth dying on this hill.
It's not worth dying on this hill.
It's you. Or me.
Marv, come on.
You want to put me down like an animal over my...
So the whole idea of the back rooms, I believe, that like they got at the idea of maybe it can be used as like an infinite space, like storage space, anything you could think of, home, like living down there, shopping, all this stuff. It was like their kind of cure to maybe overpopulation. Like there's this mass amount of space that you can live down here. I guess the only problem would be not having natural daylight and stuff, but that would probably be fixed with like screens and stuff that emulate the sun and that.
Fucking hiccup. Give a speech at my memorial. It's not cost effective, George.
Yeah, but we're not going to let that happen, are we? You know how I know? You're the 4th person I've had this conversation with. Nobody wants a repeat of what just happened. Listen, I know how stressful this is, but the best thing you can do now is just take a couple weeks off, give yourself a chance.
Basically tell him to turn the other cheek.
To process, and, you know, that'll show them that we can handle these kinds of things.
Wow, look at that.
Yeah. Sorry, I know, you're right. I think I just had to get that out of my system. I don't know what that was.
No, please, I get it. I think it's the right call. You gotta keep pushing forward, okay?
Here we go. Back in the back rooms. So right here, guys, is the Pitfalls. I believe. And this is where one of the guys fell down. And I believe they discovered the streets, I think, underneath. With the little, whatever the thing's called. What is that? Stick creature. The Backrooms entity creature. So this was the door that guy went through. And we didn't actually get to see what was through here. So this is the door to the pitfalls. Here we go. This is what was inside.
George?
More back rooms.
Oh, hey.
Hey, you had a chance to look around back here yet?
No, not yet, but I'm seeing it now.
Okay, cool. Wait here for a second. I want to show you what we found down the hall in just a moment.
Sure.
So what we're essentially seeing here, which is really cool to see, is that these scientists, these workers, discovering all this for the first time and mapping it all out for the first time. So this is like ground zero almost of like the back rooms before it gets whatever they're trying to do with it.
This is even stranger than I thought.
Yeah, they've stretched the wallpaper there.
Huh.
It's like the polygons or whatever have been stretched. Like in a game when you glitch out and like parts of the limb like kind of spike off in a way. They stretch out. Just random.
Well, Mark didn't say anything about it flowing in a specific direction, but he did say that it was, remember, pretty horizontal in nature. It was stretching off around the corner. So the pattern seems to align pretty closely to what he illustrated.
Yeah, so wait, this is the room you
Okay, guys, sorry, I need to just stop the camera.
guys already cleared?
Yeah, so we went around and checked it out earlier. It's a dead
So
end.
all the wallpaper here has been
There's some on the floor
stretched.
that I would recommend you avoid. We haven't checked those yet, but all signs point to it being safe. So venture at your own peril.
Oh,
Right, and this is just a... Whoa.
okay.
This is just random stuff. It's almost like this room was being generated and was like interrupted.
Oh, okay, you weren't kidding. This is interesting.
It's like everything was kind of molding, maybe. Like everything was molding. It's like, and then as soon as you open the door, it's like, bush, we're stopping creating. So all these things like kind of, it's like this room was being generated. And then by them looking at it, the observer effect or whatever, it changed everything. Like it just kept everything in place. And that explains like maybe the wallpaper stretching, the furniture, the geometry in the floor, a table in the freaking wall, and just a random hill with a chair on it. How very odd. Here we go. Look, the platypus theorist said the same thing. I love the implication that what Mac found behind the door in Pitfalls might have been altering the environment around him, similar to what we saw at the end of Backrooms found footage 2. And Mac walking in on it messed it up in the middle of its process, resulting in incomplete rooms with stretched wallpaper and furniture seemingly growing out of the complex. Very interesting to say the least. So let's quickly go back to the Pitfalls video. They are here. This was all done up, and that was the doorway there.
What do you see?
And then this dude goes over there.
Oh my god.
What do you see?
Everything okay?
Marvin, get the camera over here.
Get the camera over here. Maybe he was seeing like everything kind of move around, but they said that similar to the Backrooms found footage 2. So like I guess like this, it all goes kind of green, and then it kind of flashes. But this suggests that it does it even if you're looking at it anyway. Like maybe that this is being destroyed or something else is being clipped into this room. Because if you look at the Pitfalls video here, it's kind of like that you got green here So maybe that's what was happening there. I'm not sure. Who knows? But that was, well, the latest video, I guess, of the Backrooms by Kane Pixels. There's a lot going on here, and I believe maybe ordering the timeline of events will make more sense of this. But I believe that we're just being given little parts of the story here, and we're going to piece it all together at the end, because you got to remember, there's the film that's being made and a potential series after. So there's still a lot more to uncover here. But we're being just spoon-fed little parts here and there. Enough to kind of put together some kind of timeline, but there's still things missing that need explanations. As always, I love Kane's work. It's so cool to see and inspiring, in honesty. It's super inspiring to see what can be done with a creative mind and a knowledge of VFX and stuff like that. It's awesome. And I can't wait to see more of this and how it actually all wraps up. I'm not sure when the movie's coming out. I think it's this year the movie's coming out. Maybe at the end of the year. I'm unsure. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So guys, be sure to go check out Kane Pixels. Like the video. Subscribe to his channel. He's got some banger videos on the way in the future from the looks of things. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. I hope you did enjoy. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care, guys.